Hey, how you doing? I wanted to put out a video talking about how I eradicated H. pylori. There's a number of videos like this on YouTube, and a lot of it is like, oh, I had bad stomach pains, and then I had to go to the ER, and at the ER they figured out it was H. pylori, and so they put me in the antibiotics kicked my ass, and now I'm recovering. There's a lot of that, and then there's perhaps even more, although, you know, success stories, maybe they don't talk about their success, they go online to toot about it. But a lot of it is people just going, I've tried to, this thing is a demon, I can't beat it, I can't beat it. Let me give you just right off the bat, so I don't forget to do it, let me give you the before. Here's the before, this is what I got in May, and this is what I got today. This is the after. And I also have, so that shows eradication. I also have a couple antigen tests showing no antigens, so that's really good. But yeah, H. pylori is this, it's in 50% of people, planetarily. It's in 50% of people. And so normally it just resides in the stomach, it resides in the pits of the stomach, and it puts a thing called a biofilm over itself. And it hangs out in there and it releases ammonia of many things. It goes through a urease cycle, it feeds off amino acids, and it releases ammonia, and it also drops down your stomach acid in your stomach. So then you're not getting stomach acid going down into your intestines. And so usually what is followed is SIBO. You get small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You can have things that aren't supposed to be in your large intestine or in your colon as well. So H. pylori is a nasty little demon. And if those of you who are astute or are looking for help, coming on YouTube, to really try to get a leg up on this thing, you'll see that on the virulence factors I had the CAGA, which is highly inflammatory, and boy was I feeling it. Highly inflammatory, and also it lends you to ulcers more so than if there wasn't the virulence factor. I'm very lucky, I only had the one virulence factor. And in my case, this virulence factor, the CAGA, I just want to get you the info before I move on to something else, is kind of a glass cannon. I was very happy to find this in my research. A glass cannon meaning it'll nail you hard, but when you nail it back, it'll crumble. It's not the hardiest of the virulence factors by any stretch. So my story on this, I don't want to do too long of my story on this. A lot of the videos on YouTube are like a half hour of the person's story, and they just use a half hour to tell you they went to the ER, basically. So I don't want to give you too much of the story, but I'll give you a bit. You know, about 8 years ago, I was having stomach pain, I was having gastro sort of inflammation, and it was such to the point that it was waking me up at night. And I basically had a terrible sleep journey. I had a couple doctors did not believe me, sent me to a sleep doc. Sleep doc put me on sleep pills. Those were terrible, and those further disbalance your biome, your gut biome. Terrible time, chasing this and that, you know, high blood pressure, so many symptoms, right? H. pylori, a lot of the classic H. pylori symptoms are stomach pain, nausea, vomiting, reflux action. But in my case, it was a lot of inflammation, bloating, and then the lowered stomach acid. H. pylori lowers the stomach acid to make a more preferable environment for itself because it doesn't like stomach acid. And so I ended up with SIBO as a result. I still have the SIBO, but I'm coming to terms with it. I'm coming to grips with it. I've found some really great resources, and I'm actually seeing pretty good results. So, but yeah, I suffered for like 7 years with this thing till I figured it out this late spring or this early summer. And then I started hammering it, right? I go ham at everything. I just go all the way, 100%. Anything I do, I just go 100%. And so I committed myself in a big way to defeating this thing. I will say, you know, I have to sympathize. If you've been through the whole gauntlet, the whole supplement gauntlet, it can be very easy to do that, you know, where you're chasing symptoms, you're not sure. I was really glad I did the diagnostics, and I got close. I actually got close in my just, you know, sort of chasing the symptomology and supplementing. I actually had a bottle of mastic gum at the ready at one point. And so, but yeah, I'm so glad I did the diagnostics. It was worth every penny. I went through My Labs for Life, and I'm so glad I went through this company, really great company, very happy with them. And yeah, they do the high accuracy DNA PCR test. I think there's one that's even higher, which is a biofire analysis. But I don't know if that, maybe that's just like a mold thing. That might not be a GI map thing. But the GI map is, for functional medicine practitioners, it is their gold standard. And there's so much you can learn from this. Gastro doctors are like, that's crap. We don't believe in that. You know, they're all Rockefeller trained, so they're all just like, we'll nuke you with antibiotics. We'll spin you around. You know, we'll put a blindfold on you and we'll spin you around. We'll pin the tail on the donkey. We'll send you off squealing. And good luck, bub. That's what a lot of gastro doctors, I mean, some of them really help people, but a lot of them are just used to seeing really like overweight boomers that are just dying from a diabetic diet. And they're just like, you know, they're just grizzled people. They're very skeptical of this. They call it alternative medicine, and it's just like, it's nonsense. It works, like the GI map works. And there's a lot of people called functional medicine practitioners, and they look at this and their whole job is to get you in balance. So I'm really glad I did that. It revealed the H. pylori. And then I just nailed it right away. I nailed it with mastic gum. I did NAC because this H. pylori is nasty. And it can go into what is, I believe it's pronounced coxoid. It can go into a coxoid form, which is like a seed form. So I don't know, I may still have it and maybe in that form. But the way you kind of fight back against that, it's hardened, right? And then it's much less susceptible to antimicrobial agents. But I took the NAC, which is supposed to break down, it's supposed to break through the defenses of the coxoid form. So I did that, that's called a biofilm buster. I took a couple others, serrapeptase, lumbrokinase, this $26 one, I forget, it's, you know, adjust for inflation if you're watching this a few years later. I forget the name of it anyway, but it had a few different things in it. It was like 20, you know, Seraphase Labs or something, something like this. Interface Labs, there we go. I got the Interface Labs Biofilm Buster. I even, I just go nuts. I just go nuts when I want to fix something. So I also got the Biocidin liposomal Biofilm Buster. It was like $90, bro. And yeah, and I just went nuts. I just went nuts on this, and I just was taking crazy amounts of mastic gum. They say 3 grams, right? 3 grams a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner. I was doing that, and then sometimes more. And I had a dramatic improvement for about 6 weeks, and my sleep was coming back, and it is kind of coming back now. My sleep was coming back. That was very exciting for me, and yeah, and then I felt like I plateaued. And then after that, I threw a negative antigen test. And antigen tests, you can get them through Amazon. They're like $15 a pop. You can go through your primary care. They're usually willing to do that because they're pretty cheap. And it's pretty easy, you know. And I threw a negative, but I wasn't convinced because I'm still showing symptoms. Still some stomach pain, so I wasn't satisfied. So, but I think maybe it was eradicated at that point. This was like July. This was 3 months ago. I've been contending with this thing for about 5.5 months. So I wasn't satisfied, so I got a hold of some amoxicillin, and I took a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor, and that knocks down the stomach acid to nil, and H. pylori blooms in that environment, and you nail it with the antibiotic. And so I had the amoxicillin going at about 3250 milligrams a day. I had that broken up over 3 times a day, and then I had it broken up over 4 times a day. I switched because I was leaving too large of a gap at night. And I had some really interesting and positive results from that for about the first 5 days, and then nothing. It was the same, and if anything, I got a little worse. And I was pretty nervous about that. I thought, okay, well, maybe the H. pylori is really strong because amoxicillin is a weaker antibiotic, and I usually want to do the doctors, the gastros will say you got to do a bismuth quad, which is it's tetracycline, and I can't pronounce Flagyl. We'll just call it Flagyl. That's the mainline name for it. That, and then pink bismuth and a proton pump inhibitor. That's your quad bismuth. And I thought, well, maybe I'll have to do that. And no, I successfully eradicated, which is really cool. So, but I think the mastic gum, I'm going to just tell you what I think really helped. Be the mastic gum, the NAC. I don't think I really needed much more than that. I just throw money at it, right? Just like, I need this problem to go away. I'll get the best. I'll go to the mountaintops of Tibet and get the greatest biofilm buster available. I think the NAC was really great though, and I wouldn't recommend much more beyond that. Zinc carnosine was really pretty useful. That is that helps with the mucosal lining of your intestines, which if you don't have stomach acid going through there, you're going to get all sorts of dysbiosis, and then you could end up with a leaky gut. So everyone says L-glutamine for a leaky gut, aloe vera to soothe the inflammation. Something I've really found to be quite useful is enteric-coated. Now that doesn't address the H. pylori in the stomach, but enteric-coated for those downstream effects. Anything that you can put into enteric-coated capsules, you can buy those, right? You don't have to buy the supplement itself enteric-coated, which is more money. But I found that dumping things down the hatch that were enteric-coated has been useful for me, and I still have lingering SIBO. The amoxicillin course I took would be called high dual dose therapy, and I think it mopped up the last of it. Maybe it didn't even, and maybe some of the amoxicillin, the positive effects I got from that were actually more in the SIBO realm. So I'm not entirely sure. If I had to do this all over again, I'm on a new thing, right? This guy, Kalish, I don't know his first name, Tom Kalish? Cool dude, nice dude. He's basically the guy that trains all the functional medicine practitioners on reading diagnostic labs and dialing that stuff in. And his mentor is like the granddaddy of this thing. I think the guy invented the GI map or something like this. And so he recommends, when you're going at H. pylori, he recommends getting your prebiotic fibers, which would be like inulin from chicory root or psyllium husk or beans. He says beans. So I would get the beans going, and then he says polyphenols. These two, beans and polyphenols, feed the commensal bacteria, which is the like 24 bacteria that normally reside in the GI tract that you want there, that do good things for you, and they work synergistically together. My diet didn't have these things. I mean, I got some fiber, but my diet was largely like a protein diet, really close to carnivore for a long time, and that did not help. I mean, I'd be curious to go back to it now that H. pylori is eradicated, but I still got the SIBO, so I'm in no rush, you know. But I don't think it works. I think you need the fiber. I think you need the polyphenols, and I think there's some good basis for this. And so if I had to do this again, I would do what he recommends, which is I do the setup with the diet. I do that for 2 months, as he recommends. I would do the adrenal support because you can get into a stress spiral. I mean, me with the sleep, I was in a doom spiral. I still am a little bit, but I'm coming out of it. This doom spiral of not getting enough sleep leads to more inflammation, leads to compounding effects on the biome, which leads to adrenal stress, adrenal fatigue, reduced hormone production, and then you're in a lot of trouble. And I found myself in that pit before. I dug myself out. I did do the adrenal support before. I'm doing it again now because I just want to heal. After you've done one of these courses of antibiotic therapy with the proton pump inhibitor, it leaves a lot of gastritis in its wake. I mean, that H. pylori it wants to take you down with it. And so I definitely noticed a huge uptick in my discomfort, my gastrointestinal discomfort, but it is eradicated. So I'm really happy about that. But I would do what Kalish, I think that's how you say his name. I would do what Kalish recommends, do this 2-month setup. And then I would hit it with the mastic gum, 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. And I would probably keep a biofilm buster in there going. But that's how I do it. But I didn't do it too far off from that. I just went all hands on deck, and I just went, what kills H. pylori? I'll buy it. And I spent hundreds of dollars like just buying all these things, you know, ginger root, sulforaphane, which is an extract from broccoli sprouts. I bought broccoli sprouts themselves. I sprouted them. I was eating them. They're nasty, but they work. You know, on and on. Holy basil, neem, olive leaf extract, like on and on it goes. But mastic gum really is, there is no proven resistance to it in vitro, and so I think you're pretty safe. If you got the H. pylori, that's a third, and it is a biofilm disruptor itself. So that would be, I think, if I did it again, I would probably just stick more to that. And I was very glad I did the GI map, glad I did the GI map follow-up to prove eradication. I also have 2 antigen tests. There's a small chance that I stressed it out and it went to its coxoid form, but I think I accounted for that with the biofilm busters. So I really think I am eradicated. And that means that's the first thing you want to pull out anyway. The order that you want to go with these things tends to be, if you have H. pylori, you want to knock that out first, then you go with the parasites, then you go with the Candida. Candida is notoriously hard to catch on diagnostics. And so this is what the functional medicine world says anyway. This is not like direct advice. So that's the order of things. H. pylori really is a catalyst for so much nonsense that happens downstream. And I'm still living with some of that nonsense, unfortunately. But it's like a SIBO thing, and so I'm going the enteric-coated route, got the different diet. My diet did not have much in the way of polyphenols. Some blueberries, some dark chocolate, and that's about it. And dark chocolate can be an irritant if you have gastritis because it has the caffeine content. And I was definitely experiencing it. I had to cut out dark chocolate about 3-4 months ago because I just noticed I felt like crap afterwards. So I do also like the intuitive eating. I'm making adjustments to your diet based on that. But I think you gotta include these things that the gut biome likes. And my diet up until I went keto, and I think maybe the keto was what triggered it. I'm not entirely sure what triggered the H. pylori. It could have been caffeine consumption and hard cardio. That could have hurt my gut lining. I'm not entirely sure, but I did go keto, and I did pull out a lot of fiber from my diet at that point. And I think maybe that was the thing that allowed the H. pylori to do its dirty work. I'm not entirely sure. So it just kind of came up, and I had it for the longest time, and I finally figured it out. And it's tough too. I would just say a heavy word of sympathy for the H. pylori can cause a lot of brain fog, or the downstream effects from it can create a lot of brain fog, and then you're not in your right mind, and you're not thinking straight, and you're not able to do what it is that you need. So for me, the home plate was diagnostics. Getting the diagnostics done, that was what I based everything I did this year off of, and I'm really glad I did that. So. Am I missing anything else? No, I'm just very happy to have defeated H. pylori. It ate into my life. It reduced my outcomes for sure. And now the SIBO is still going. But I got a whole thing going with that. And I'm looking at what Kalisha is saying about that. And I'm appreciating him. And I'm all fired up to do some more, oats organic testing and GI map. I'm all fired up to do some more of that. Get everything really dialed in. And I've only just changed my diet. I took out all the bad stuff. I noticed, like this spring, I tried to do a repeat diet, which is high sugar, which just feeds candida, and it destroyed me. I had like rashes. I had terrible neck pain, which it can be an H. pylori thing. Terrible neck pain, terrible inflammation, atrocious sleep. But I have to stop this. So I pulled out most carbs, all carbs basically, pulled out all the sugar, and backed off of some of the protein, and that helped. But it was more of neutralizing negatives, but I wasn't adding a couple positives. So I've only really changed my diet in the last 3 days. It's been 3 days since I've changed my diet. I'm so grateful for the Kalisha Institute for functional medicine. It really helped me. If you're on that carousel of seeing doctor after doctor, and you're just paying out the wazoo for this specialist and that specialist, there is another way, And I was glad that I took that other way, because I was becoming pretty despondent with these dead ends that I was hitting. Chase a hypothyroid diagnosis. Chase a this, chase a that, And that never worked for me. So hard diagnostics really got me across the line. A lot of people dispute the GI map, but I don't know. But then they're the same people that were all for the DNA PCR with the COVID stuff. So I won't say too much on that, but there's not a consistency. They're not universalizing their concepts, let's just say this. So, yeah, really thrilled. It's a great day. For me, I was suffering a lot. I still am suffering, but at SIBO, I think I can make a difference. Your dietary changes show up within 2 weeks. You have because these are bacteria. They don't have a long shelf life. They don't live very long. So a dietary change that you make will show up in a big way in 2 weeks in terms of your biome. I'm missing some important things. I'm missing a keystone bacteria, Akkermansia municiphala. A lot of people have been missing that in the last 5 years. Something about shedding, something about something that's being passed interpersonally is eradicating Akkermansia immunosyphilia in people. So I'm just totally missing that, at least to my most recent knowledge. But this change will show up in 2 weeks. Your dietary change shows up in about 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. But I have a lot of damage to repair as well, a lot of gut lining stuff to do, but I'm definitely finally on the right track. And I couldn't have done it without eradicating H. pylori. That thing was just driving a lot of dysbiosis down the line. And so a heavy word of sympathy to anybody who is going through that, or anybody who's known someone that's gone through it. It's in 50% of people. So a lot of people also they'll present symptoms and then they just won't think too much of it and they'll just live with it. And I couldn't, because what I've had going on in the GI has disturbed my sleep. So I'd imagine that I have some sort of like delactase or something. I have something going on that is neurotoxic to the brain, because I've had sleep trouble. That leads to oxygen deprivation of the brain, and inflammation. This will lead to reduced cognitive function. I've had a good deal of that, and so I'm still not totally in the clear, but I'm clear on the H. pylori. I wanted to just get a message of hope out to you. It's possible. See what you can do. Work your resources. Do not neglect the diagnostics, I would say. That's all I have to say on that. I appreciate you being with me. Smash the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I'll see you.